All right. Hey, everyone. I just wanted to come on today to do a video going over tendon strength, tendon healing, and tendon rehab for arm wrestling. Because for those of you who do not know, September of last year, I had pretty serious injury. I partially tore two tendons in my left elbow, but I was able to come back 3 months later, win a tournament undefeated, left-handed, without doing any training. And then I had what I will consider a really good performance that I was happy with against a really big, really strong Ben Brooks the month after that. So 3 and 4 months later, good showings. And after a catastrophic injury. But before we get into the video, I would like to ask that if you do enjoy this type of content and you like what I'm doing here, please consider subscribing to the channel and liking the video. It really goes a long way to helping keep me motivated. Also, there's a new hype feature, which really pushes the video out into the algorithm. So if you consider doing any of those, again, I'd really appreciate it. I am going to be reading off a script. This is a little bit of new territory for me. So if you have any, comments, criticisms, or something I can do to improve this in the future, please let me know. But without further ado, let's get into it. So when I did get injured 3 months ago, I was pretty devastated. Obviously, this is my first major injury in arm wrestling so far. Two partial tears, one in the MCL and one I can't remember. I want to say UCL. I'll have to look that up. I should have looked before the video, but essentially it's the muscle or the tendon that actually pronates your forearm over. Basically, I did hundreds of hours of research, and what I really laid into was, or really found to be the best, was Dr. Keith Baar. He's the world's foremost expert in tendons as related to sports performance. And I really attribute his protocol into helping me recover more than anything, more than, the BPC, the TB500, because I've tried those in the past. I really think this information in this protocol is the main reason why I was able to get back, not only healed and recovered, but I think even stronger than I was before. So basically, here we go. Implementing Dr. Keith Baar's research into arm wrestling requires a shift from heavy lifting to precision loading. Unlike muscle, tendons have a very short on switch. They only respond to stimulus for about 10 minutes before the cells or tenocytes become deaf to the load for about 6 hours. To build the elite level elbow and wrist resilience needed for professional competition, you should structure your training around these three pillars. So the first pillar is going to be the nutritional window. Tendon tissue has poor blood flow, so you must time your nutrition to ensure the building blocks are in your system during the mechanical loading. So now the cocktail for this is going to be 15 to 20 grams of hydrolyzed collagen or gelatin or collagen peptides with at least 50 milligrams of vitamin C. And you want to consume this 30 to 60 minutes before your tendon-specific session. This ensures that as blood flow increases to the tendon during exercise, the amino acids, glycine, and proline specifically, are delivered directly to the tissue. The loading protocol, which is the second pillar, we will call the 10-minute micro session. Dr. Baar's research shows that the short, frequent bouts are superior to one long session. For arm wrestling, focus on the medial collateral ligament of the elbow, the bicep brachialis insertion, and the TFCC wrist complex are the most important things to focus on. Frequency, the 6-hour rule you can follow. You can perform these micro sessions up to 3 times per day. As an example, morning, afternoon, evening, or 8 a.m., 3 p.m., 9 p.m., 6-hour spread between each session, provided that there is a 6-hour gap between them. The duration, keep the actual loading of each tendon you're loading to 10 minutes maximum, because remember, they go deaf to stimulus after a 10-minute period. The exercise selection specific for us arm wrestlers, but you can apply this to any tendon injury. Use overcoming isometrics. This is really important because this is what the research shows is by far and away the most effective way to not only rehab but strengthen your tendons. And what overcoming isometrics are pushing or pulling against an immovable object. So like a chain, what I like to do is I'll hook up a strap like this to a chain, and I just stand on the chain, and then like for rise, I'll pull into it, pronation, reverse wrist curl, and supination. Again, just like a 30-second hold. I'll pull into it, and that's one way to do it. It's an overcoming, and you can apply the chain or rope or whatever it is. You can use just weights that are way above your 1 rep max, just so you cannot, it's just basically an immovable load that you want to pull into. This is safer than yielding isometrics, just holding the weight, because it eliminates the jerk and allows for a smooth ramp up. And Dr. Keith Baar's research has shown that jerking motions or sudden loads or shocks to the tendon is what causes the most injury, because tendons actually have a 3 to 5 second ramp up time in order for them to spread a load across all of the fibers that are available. So again, it takes about 3 to 5 seconds to completely load the tendon. So that's important. So keep that in mind. The movements, that I would recommend are some kind of wrist flexion, wrist extension, side pressure for the elbow, MCO, a pronation for the UCL, or the other tendon, rise, because there is, again, there's a tendon that goes basically from your bicep all the way to the front of your hand here. And it's one of the only tendons that goes all the way across all 3 joints. So, or 2 joints. So that's another really important tendon to train, and a common one that people hurt and need to rehab. And then for the bicep and brachialis insertion, sometime, like what we would call back pressure or hammer curl, a lock. And you can do that from, a pronated wrist position or from a supinated wrist position. It's probably good to do both. Now, his recommendation for this and to execute this is what he calls the 3 S's: slow, steady, and static. And what that means is, again, ramp up. It spends 3 to 5 seconds slowly increasing force into the overcoming resistance or the overcoming isometric. Avoid jerking, just suddenly pulling into it. And as far as the hold goes, for health maintenance or strengthening the tendon, a 10-second hold is with a higher, 80 to 90% of your 1 rep max. And you can drop down to as low as 70%, just for like, if you're just trying to maintain and you're not trying to build anything for whatever reason, then you can go as low as 70%. For injury or just pain, if you have a lot of pain in the area in rehab, you can do 30 to 70% based on the pain. You're going to have to know your own body to know the difference between sore and pain. And you kind of want to, ride that line between finding that tenderness and the pain. But anywhere between 30 to 70% of your 1 rep max for 30 or more seconds. But now he did find after the 30-second mark, there is significant diminishing returns. So what he recommends is 4 sets of 30-second holds with a 2-minute rest in between, which will satisfy that 10-minute requirement and will give the maximum amount of stimulus. So 4 sets, 30 seconds for injury rehab. And the ramp down is also important. Once you're getting close to like the last 3 seconds, just slowly let off the hold. Don't just suddenly let go, just slowly let off. Give those tendons times to relax. Now, professionals often struggle, and by professionals, I mean arm wrestlers, with, tendonitis versus tendinosis. But luckily, Dr. Baar's protocol allows you to train through discomfort, because isometrics actually act as a pain reliever. So, before training, before practice, wherever you're feeling that pain, you only need to do this once, like 1 30-second hold at, 50 to 60% of your 1 RM. Will actually cause what's called cortical inhibition in the brain for 4 hours. So you'll notice that the pain in the area that you're feeling just from doing that isometric, that 30-second isometric, will be significantly diminished, and it can really help you get through training sessions that you didn't feel like you could do otherwise before. So I definitely recommend giving this a go if you're thinking of taking the day off because something's pretty tender. Just try doing a 30-second isometric. Before your session and wherever it's tender or sore, and it can help really get you through and get those extra training sessions you need to in. One thing I also wanted to bring up was a theory he has called the donut theory. And what basically this is, and this is a theory to explain how loading the tendon works. So basically, it's even if the part of your tendon is damaged, you can imagine the damaged part of your tendon is the hole in the middle of the donut. Loading the healthy surrounding tissue, which is actually the donut itself, through these protocols makes the overall structure stronger and more resilient to the shear forces of an arm wrestling match. So again, it's important to not take time off. If you get a tendon injury, a soft tissue injury, you actually want to go and start loading it almost right away. Again, you have to know that, the where to stop. You can't just go right back to maximal loading. You have to know where that soreness and pain barrier is and just ride that line. But this will get you back, on the table and competing much, much faster. So hopefully that maybe helps make a little bit more sense. And I wanted to give a kind of a sample of a routine that, might work, and you can fit this to your day however you want. So for instance, at 8 a.m. or excuse me, at 7:30 a.m., you can take your collagen and vitamin C. And then around 9 a.m., you can start your first micro session, whether it's like wrist cupping and pronation or wrist cupping and rise, 4 sets of 30 seconds with a 2-minute rest between sets. Then at 2:30 p.m., you can do your collagen vitamin C again. Now, you don't have to do this all 3 times a day. If you want to optimize your recovery, then yes, definitely do the collagen vitamin C before each session, but that'll get costly pretty quick. So during injuries, I would recommend this, but if you're just doing the health and maintenance, then just before one of these, whichever is your most important, is the one that I'd recommend doing the collagen vitamin C. But again, 30 minutes before training at 3 p.m. Again, 4 sets of just 30-second holds for injury or rehab, or 10-second holds if you're trying to strengthen or maintain a tendon or ligament in that area. And, this could be, this session you might do side pressure, and back pressure. And then for your nighttime routine, like around 9 p.m., because again, for example, 8 a.m., 3 p.m., and 9 p.m. are, 6 hours apart. At 9 p.m., your nighttime routine, what I like to do is just do kind of like a circuit that hits everything in my wrist. So I do that, what I showed you before with the strap and the chain. I'll start with rise. I'll do a 30-second rise hold into the chain. Then I'll switch arms and I'll do a 30-second rise hold into the right arm. And then I'll do a pronation on the right arm. Then I'll do wrist extension back and forth, and then a supination, and then back to the other side. And then I take a 2-minute break, and then I go back through the cycle again, 4 times. And I really like that routine. I really think it helps my wrist a lot stay strong. When it's hurting, I do 30 seconds, and when it feels good and I want to make it stronger, then I up that load and I do 10-second holds. Now, one of the most important things that I want to end this video with is that you can do this all the way up until about 48 hours before you compete. The reason for this is that if you're preparing for a tournament, the tendons need to stiffen up, or a super match for peak performance. They need to be stiff in order to attain that explosive power. And it takes 48 hours for your tendons to stiffen up. And these slow isometric protocols are designed to make them actually more compliant, healthy and stretchy. Taking 48 hours before competing will stiffen them up so that way you can compete at your maximal strength. And this might also be something to consider, for if you have like an important, your table sessions prior to competing, the last couple ones, you might want to, take 2 days before your table practice, because so you can practice more accurately and know exactly how fast you can move and how fast you can hit. But again, just take 48 hours off from the isometrics prior to competing in order to have maximum performance. So yeah, that's basically all I have. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that script worked. Again, if you have any criticisms or critiques or ideas on how I can do this better in the future, please let me know down below. And again, if you like what I'm doing, please consider subscribing and liking the video, as it will really help me out a lot. Thank you for tuning in again tonight, and I will catch you guys later.